Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Eric Flowers, Indian River County Sheriff, and we are here today to talk about the case of Susie Tomasi. I'm here to tell you today that this is transitioned here at our agency from a missing persons case that we started 5 years ago to a homicide investigation. We know that on March 16th, 2018, we identified a white vehicle. It's a white truck. We don't know the make of that truck. It's a very distant video that we've had out on social media for some time. She is seen getting into that vehicle. She is seen leaving eastbound towards the Oslo boat ramp in that vehicle. And then a few minutes later, it appears that that white pickup truck comes back westbound on Oslo Road at a high rate of speed. And we were looking for her for approximately 5 years. We know that on March 3rd, 2023, human remains were located along the coastline approximately 150 yards north of Oslo Road near the Oslo boat ramp. We sent off the remains of Susie Tomasi for verification to positively identify her. Our medical examiner's lab and the Pound lab, which is attached to the University of Florida, did an analysis, and both labs have come back with the same confirmation that it is Ms. Tomasi that we recovered out there that day, but also that she was killed as a result of a bullet wound. And so our team is here today to try and bring some closure to this case. We have taken this back to the drawing board, back to the beginning, and started the investigation because we are now working a homicide investigation. We initially put out a call to the public asking for any sort of assistance that they might have, anything that they might know. And shortly after we identified her remains, detectives received information from a concerned citizen about a suspicious incident that occurred several months before Tomasi's disappearance. Now, we had never heard about this incident prior to her remains being found. So we had been working for some time on this case for 5 years. We had put out multiple calls. And this person, fortunately, came forward after her remains were located. In the story, the citizen told detectives that while she was walking in the area of South Vero Square Plaza, she was approached by a white male driving a white pickup truck, attempting to lure her into that truck. Citizen described the male as white, approximately 30 to 40 years old, medium build with almost shoulder-length brown hair. The citizen worked with our team, and we were able to recall details. She was able to recall details of the male, and we had a sketch completed, which we now have here for the public to take a look at. We have set up a tip line in this case, specific for this case. If there's anyone who has information about this investigation, they should call 772-978-6259, 772-978-6259, or you can remain anonymous and be eligible for a cash reward by calling Treasure Coast Crime Stoppers at 1-800-273-TIPS, 8477, or tcwatch.org. We are looking for additional leads. If anybody recognizes this sketch, this is a person of interest. And I will tell you at this point, we have not ruled out anybody in this case. Anybody that's attached to it is a suspect. This particular sketch here is a person of interest that may be related to this, but it's a tip that we've received since we started, since we found her remains. So with that, I'll take any questions that you guys may have.
The person of interest you think is the guy who was driving the white truck?
So I can't say that. What I can say is that around the time that Ms. Tomasi went missing, a citizen came forward and said that they had a similar type incident with this person in a similar truck. Now, we don't know the make and model of the truck that Ms. Tomasi got into, but we know it was a white truck. And this particular citizen came forward and said that she was approached by a man in a white truck that looked like this.
What was the date of that when she was approached?
She doesn't have a specific date. She doesn't recall a specific date, but it was around that same time. It was before Ms. Tomasi went missing. It was actually before she went missing.
So that'd be in 2018 or something?
Yes, sir, in 2018.
Month?
Can't say for sure. She doesn't have a specific, it was around that time that she went missing, and she never came forward with the information until we found her remains in that area.
And so this sketch is based on this other woman being
The other woman's situation that she had out there. Our team worked with, what was it, Palm Beach County? Palm Beach County came up with their technology. They were able to create this sketch for us.
Can you say where Ms. Tomasi was shot?
We're not going to get into the details of where. We do know from the skeletal remains that we recovered, and we did recover the majority of her skeletal remains as well as the majority of her property. in that location, that, you know, she was killed as a result of a bullet wound. We would not know caliber, and at this time, we're not disclosing the location of that bullet wound.
Yeah, do you think she was there the whole time, or do you think she was, because you guys, I think, searched that area earlier?
We
Prior
did.
to finding her?
We did. We searched extensively. I was out there that night. I know you guys came out there. She went missing on that night, March 16th, and I went to bed knowing that she was missing. And I woke up in the middle of the night and realized she was still missing. And, you know, in dementia cases, oftentimes we have a very limited window of time to try and recover a person of that, you know, issue with that issue. And so I got dressed in the middle of the night, went out there, personally searched back in the Oslo Preserve area with several of our deputies. We searched all through there. We had EquiSearch come out. We had a number of citizen groups that's worked with us. We searched the entire area. The thing that I'll say to you is we don't know where she was. She was so deep in the mangroves. And we've had several storms since this happened. So our team of detectives is still working to determine, you know, did she go into the water? We know that when someone is killed, they sink for a time period and then eventually float up and move with the current. Our team is looking at the current at that time, back in 2018. They're looking at, you know, everything that we can to make a determination of whether or not she was killed in the location that her body was recovered, or if she was actually in the water and made her way to that location. It's hard for us to say. I believe we will make a determination. It's just very early in the investigation. I think it's going to take us some time. There's location. If she was, somebody probably either walked along the coastline and went deep into the mangroves or had to find a way through. And I'll tell you, the amount of time that truck is down there and gone is not long. So it's going to be an interesting case to try and determine what exactly happened to her down there at the end of the Oslo boat ramp.
My understanding is robbery may not have been a motive in this case. Is there anything you can add to that?
I'll say we recovered jewelry, we recovered expensive items. It doesn't appear as though robbery was a motive in this. We're working to determine what a motive may be in a case like this. And we're hoping that somebody will recognize the sketch, or maybe, you know, this press conference will jar someone's memory of what was happening around that time, and they'll come forward and give us information.
You said you can't eliminate anyone as a suspect, so in this case, then you have not eliminated her husband as possibly involved in this?
Not just the husband, but she's got an extensive family. She's got a family that goes over to Italy. She has, you know, family all over. Everyone is potentially a suspect in this case.
Sheriff, so you're not ruling out that she could have been killed somewhere else and later her body brought to where it was found?
That's a possibility, and I'll tell you, the folks that were out there searching with us, I mean, they know the extensive levels that we searched out there. So is it possible that she eventually was brought back to that location? Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. We've not ruled that out. But I will tell you, in the days that followed locating her body, I spoke with our teams that searched out there, and I had our boat team go back out, and our team showed them where her remains were located. And she was so deep in the mangroves that the boat team would not have seen her even if they came that far back. I mean, even if they went to the full edge of the water line, she was far enough back in the mangroves they wouldn't have seen her. But she could have floated back there based on the storms that have happened, the rising tide, you know, all of that could have brought her back there. So it's hard for us to say at this moment, but those are all things that we're working with various specialists in a variety of different categories, including marine life, you know, how the tides move. We're working with those folks to try and make those determinations now.
And can you refresh then how her body was eventually found since it was so back?
Yeah, there was a fisherman who was there fishing. It was March 3rd, 2023, and he went deep into the mangroves to relieve himself. And while he was up in the woods, he identified a skull, and he immediately came back out and called us. And we went into the water and went north along the waterway and immediately started to work to recover the body. And as we recovered items, we quickly realized that we were probably recovering the remains of Susie. We did find a number of items that we knew belonged to her that the husband was able to identify. So that helped. We believed it was her, but we certainly wanted that official proof from the medical examiner's office and the Pound Lab. We got that back in late April.
You said you recovered jewelry and some expensive items. What are the expensive items?
I don't want to get into the details of what those items were. She did have some expensive jewelry pieces, and we were able to recover those. So that leads me to believe that robbery is not a motive in this case.
Was her body in the water? The bones, right? There was no body at that point, just bones?
Just bones. She definitely was in the water at some point. The fact that articles of clothing were up in the mangroves shows that the water line had come up, it had rose and fallen back down. And so we do know that she was in the water at some points while she was there, and certainly storms coming through. And the mangroves are very unique in that area, that how the water travels back into there. Where she was at as we recovered her, it was more mud than it was water at that time. But that's not to say that's how it was on the day 5 years ago.
It's gonna be difficult to solve.
We've got this great tip so far with a lead of a person. We're hoping that somebody will come through. Again, we're looking at everybody. You know, we've never, from the beginning of when she went missing, we've always taken a look at family. We've always looked at folks that were related and part of this. And so far, we've been unable to make a case on it, but that's not to say in the future we won't be able to. We're hoping that people come forward with information and tips, and we're able to bring justice to Ms. Tomasi.
And it was the bullet that killed her, not drowning, as far as you know.
So based on the medical examiner's report and the Pound Labs analysis of it, they do believe that it was a bullet that ultimately killed her. However, could those items work in conjunction? Absolutely. That's not, we can't rule that out for sure. We can say that she was struck by a bullet, and there's a pretty good chance that that had a great effect on her ability to survive.
Was there, could you explain again the significance of the guy in the white truck that was seen on the surveillance video?
Sure. So shortly after we recovered Ms. Tomasi's remains, our detectives received information from a concerned citizen about a suspicious incident that occurred several months before her disappearance. Citizen told detectives that while she was walking in the area of South Vero Square Plaza, which is where Ms. Tomasi was last seen walking, she was approached by a white male driving a white pickup truck. The driver attempted to lure the female into the truck. She did this sketch right here based on her memory. So again, when you see this sketch, this is from 5+ years ago. This person is likely aged since then, but this is based on her memory of that incident around the same time that Ms. Tomasi went missing.
When you say lured in, did she recall anything specific that he said, or did he physically try
Phil, you
to
wanna take that
grab
one?
her and bring her into the vehicle?
Detective Phil Daughtry spoke to her.
Yes, and speaking with her, it was strictly verbal. He didn't get out of the truck, but he did put her in a position that was uncomfortable and tried to verbally entice her to get in the vehicle.
And how old was that woman?
At this time,
We don't want to identify her
I
right
know,
now.
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if she were elderly like Miss Tomasi was, or
Would
a
you,
younger woman.
would you be okay saying that?
yeah, we can, that's fine.
She's in similar,
Yeah, she's
little bit younger?
middle age or so.
a little bit younger than Ms. Tomasi was. And the situation was similar enough that we thought it strong enough of a coincidence that we would certainly get a sketch done and work with her on that. And it's just too, you know, the way when you watch the video, and our folks have thumb drives for you that has the video, all of the stuff, you're gonna get a digital copy of the sketch and everything. But in the way that she is approached, sort of, when she's walking past that white truck, you can tell that the person is kind of calling her over, and that she was on a mission. She was walking, and then that white truck sort of called her over or something that made her stop and come back and then go around and get into the passenger side of that truck. And so the fact that we have that on video, we believe that's her at the end of the Publix Plaza in the back. And this incident that was described is somewhat similar, caused us to at least put this out as a person of interest. Hopefully somebody can identify this person.